to stay in that carpool lane and travel at extremely high rate of speed. They still have several officers right behind them. They have an LAPD air unit overhead. Looks like LAPD is still the unit that you see there behind the suspect, wanted for armed robbery out of the San Pedro area, and more than likely CHP will take over. But it looks like these are the types of conditions that you see right now that exist. I don't see a situation up ahead where he's got to come to a complete stop and make one of those decisions on whether he's going to go around some of these vehicles at a standstill or even clip a car like we've seen in the past. It appears to me now we're still going to travel on the 91 freeway and maybe making a transition onto the 710 here. And go ahead.
Scott, we did get confirmed there's just one suspect in this vehicle as he takes the exit right now. He's kind of been stuck behind this one vehicle trying to take this exit. Curious to see what he does in this situation. But our desk has learned that there is only one suspect in this car as he now merges back on with the rest of traffic and then speeds around everyone once again. If you're just now joining us, we're continuing to follow this high-speed police chase right now, making its way through the area of Long Beach, the 91 freeway right now. We've been following this for the last 10 to 15 minutes. LAPD following what is a robbery suspect, this dangerous driving suspect going ridiculous speeds, weaving in and out of traffic at times, going the wrong way on surface streets, blowing through lights. And right now, LAPD in hot pursuit, at times holding back, at times speeding up, keeping their distance at times. Scott Reif is in Air 7 HD overhead as we now wait to see what their next move is and also what the suspect's next move is as he now goes over onto the shoulder at times to get around traffic here on the 91 freeway in Long Beach, Scott.
Yeah, we're on the 605 freeway southbound now. I made a turn off of the 91 freeway eastbound onto the 605 south, I believe coming up to the Del Amo area, so where Lakewood, Long Beach area would be traveling down towards Los Alamitos. And we have seen the driver drive extremely desperately. Look at how close he's coming to that vehicle there. It's unfortunate with these things, but you can see that the anxiety just builds and builds and builds when a suspect is trying to get away from police. And at this point, we only see more aggressive driving. At one point, we're in the carpool lane, probably doing close to 100 miles an hour. Now the suspect is swerving in and out of traffic. And if an accident happens at this speed, someone is going to get hurt. There's no question about that. And someone may get killed. So this is extremely dangerous. In some situations, we have seen the police department pull off and go to a tracking mode, especially when you're on a situation like this over a freeway where they can radio ahead from the helicopter to make sure units are really everywhere they need to be to pick this suspect up if he gets off. But if we pull out a little bit, it looks to me like we still have LAPD right behind this vehicle. And for that part, there you go. You can see the vehicle there. You can see that they're still pushing him just a little bit, and they're not going to let him out of their sight with the ground units.
So this has now been going on, Scott, from when we've been covering it now for at least 15, 20 minutes. And unfortunately, as we've seen time and time again with these pursuits, the erratic driving, at least there's not heavy traffic as what we saw, last week when it came to the rush hour pursuit that we saw play out, especially when it went through downtown L.A. But as you can see, you can't guess what a driver like this is going to do in a situation like this. And now we see LAPD giving a little bit of space as this driver continues to drive erratically at high speeds. When it comes to this situation unfolding, I mean, as far as the amount of officers that you see, we are zoomed in. There's quite a bit of space here on the 605. Oh, wait, now we see him cutting across and getting off on the freeway. What exit was that? Can you tell, Scott?
Yeah, it looks like we're getting off of the 605 freeway now, traveling onto, I believe this might be Del Amo, headed almost towards Long Beach Airport. I just have to apologize. We have so many technical issues. I can barely hear the questions that you're asking me. So I'll do the best that I can to give you exactly what's going on. But, once we get off the freeway, this is where we really start to get concerned about the safety, for people on our roadways and on these surface streets, because there's so many turnouts in front of this vehicle that when that happens, we get a bad crash. On the freeway, even though we look at that and it's frightening, it's nothing like this. But traveling at high rates of speed when there are turnouts or other streets, we've seen them go into oncoming traffic for a long stretch of time, is traveling on Alameda southbound in northbound lanes. And there's a quick turn into a gas station, trying to go around. Now, this is a situation, if patrol cars are close enough, they can try and do a pit maneuver. When the vehicle slows down that much and makes a turn, that's the perfect opportunity to try a pit if they're right behind them. But it looks like, for the most part, the suspect is driving in such an aggressive way and such a high rate of speed, they're not that anxious to get right up on top of them. And I think, Brandy, you had mentioned that there is only one person on board. We may have gotten that information from the PD.
Yes, so there is only one person that our desk has been informed of from the authorities. There is only one person. And Scott, this person now on surface streets once again. I mean, is there any way of knowing how fast he's traveling? This is what's dangerous. Flying through these intersections. This is when we start seeing, these collisions happen at times.
Yeah, we felt at one point on the freeways probably traveling as close to 100 miles an hour or more at that one point, extremely fast rate. At this point, it looks like he's probably doing maybe 60 miles an hour on what would be posted around 45. We may be on Bellflower Boulevard traveling northbound at this point. I'm not exactly sure the surface street, but the rate of speed is extremely high. There are 3 patrol cars right behind him. LAPD is still overhead. And here we come up on an intersection. And you can see very desperate, very close to clipping another car, and now continuing northbound.
Once again, he's moving through the surface streets. As LAPD is behind, and like you said, Scott, if they can get in position, and that's, here we go with that intersection. He's stopping, turning around without an option, and going.
Oncoming traffic once again. Yeah, that's, you wonder when he makes a turn like that, he just could have continued and got on the into the direction he's heading, but into oncoming traffic to make a turn like that, it gives you an idea, there may be some drugs and alcohol involved. Now, we're in an area here where they may be able to stop this, getting into a parking lot here. Next to what appears to be a shopping center, I believe, and the police are going to be right behind them. So they may have an opportunity to stop this, and they really want to because of just how dangerous and the possibility that someone could get hurt is in a situation like this. And now behind that tree, trying to make a left turn. Once again, so it could be the suspect knows where he's going all of a sudden, or he was headed to this spot because he's made a U-turn a couple of times in the same area. I believe we're in Lakewood. We're just to the west side of the 605 freeway, very close to Lakewood Boulevard, now traveling westbound once again, almost towards Long Beach Airport.
And Scott, doesn't that tend to be the case from time to time when you see that they go around in circles? Sometimes it is the idea that they found a familiar neighborhood and they're trying to either call somebody on their cell phone or they're trying to find a familiar area or somebody to talk to that they can reach out and they think they can somehow get away.
Yeah, we do see that a lot in the past. We have seen that. A lot of cases a suspect will go to an area that he's familiar with. Now, we haven't seen much of that. It almost just looks like some indecision on that little U-turn that he made. He was heading into oncoming traffic, then turned around, but now continued to head back westbound. So it doesn't seem to be completely random as to where the suspect is heading at this point. But we have seen that in a lot of cases. A suspect will go to an area that they're familiar with. At this point, we can't just tell if it's just desperation or not, trying to get away from police. It looks like when you see desperation, when you see this erratic driving, you start to think maybe drugs or alcohol are involved. But what it does appear to be is the suspect, whoever's driving this vehicle, does seem to have control. There was a little swerving all of a sudden, but the other maneuvers we've seen didn't appear that they had lost control of the vehicle or they were close to that. But I can tell you when you're traveling at this high rate of speed and that anxiety builds up. And here's another situation right now where you're coming up on an area where it looks like there's stopped traffic at this intersection and police may have an opportunity to stop this. So he's walled off right now. They know they're dealing with an armed suspect. He has his hand out the window. I don't know if we're all the way in there. It looks like I'm not sure what was in his hand at that point. But police have to believe the possibility that even though it's an armed robbery suspect with a knife, he could have a gun. And right through that red light, fortunately no one was coming, but they might try the pit maneuver right here. It looks like he was going slow enough and the officer was trying to pull up close enough that they may be able to try and bring this to a stop. They certainly want to because this is so dangerous as this continues to unravel throughout the surface streets and not on the freeway. Just from experience over the years, these types of incidents, in a lot of cases, end up injuring or killing someone, and that's what they want to try and stop at this point. They just want this to be over with without anyone getting hurt. And here he goes. He's moving up for the pit.
There you go.
There's the pit maneuver. Perfect. He'll get in behind the vehicle more than likely. Another car try and stop him. Boy, he spun around. He can continue on, but I think the patrol car in front, he's opened his door. He may make a run for it. Officers are going to come out with their guns drawn. Be careful here, Jamie. They've rushed him. And it looks like we probably are safe to move in at this point. It doesn't appear that he has a weapon or else they would have already taken action. And now they're dragging him out of the vehicle. So I'm trying to get you the area. We are in Long Beach, next to Long Beach Airport. It does look like this has ended. Only one person on board that vehicle. Armed robbery suspect. It was dangerous. It was sketchy. It was dicey at times. We don't believe that anyone was injured or anyone was hurt. And that's just, effective law enforcement techniques right there. I mean, that was almost picture perfect at that rate of speed. They don't want to do that at 60 miles an hour, but they did that, it looked to me, around 35 or 40, which is about in their limit, because at some point the vehicle will actually flip over and then could go into oncoming traffic and someone could get hurt. But this has ended. We believe it's ended for the most part without incident, no other people being injured or other cars being hit. And considering what we saw earlier, that's incredible. This has ended as well as it could.
Matt, coming to a safe conclusion. Scott Reif overhead in Air 7 HD after we saw a wild police pursuit unfold here on Eyewitness News at 11 a.m. Continuing our coverage through to 12:12 now, about a half hour unfolding of a wild police pursuit now ending in Long Beach. Again, the suspect captured after a pit maneuver. Picture perfect from the LAPD there. Now